Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Monday at 10 p.m. That means it's time for Modern Men. Modern Men here, we don't take any holidays. We're always on the air at Mondays at 10 p.m. But nonetheless, I want to say hi to the chat real quick. We got 1-2 Comic Talk. How's it going, man? Nice to see you in the chat. Of course, we got Andy. We'll get to him in a second. And we got the Great Legend Show moderating, using that blue wrench of doom, making sure everything's under control over there. So thank you guys for tuning in early. But nonetheless, I got to say hi to my co-host who's been here through every single Modern Men, ComicManAndy. How you doing? How's that beard tonight?
What's up, Carson, man? Yeah, it's going good. I'd say we're definitely covered for winter now.
Nice. That's close. I was getting a little concerned. The 60-degree winter, man. It's get a little chilly out there.
It was warm yesterday. It's definitely cold today and snowing hard up here in Michigan.
Oh, you guys are getting the snow already, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Dang. All right, we also got Rob Worst in the chat. How's it going, man? That guy has a great live show on his channel as well, so definitely check him out. Oh, thank God, there's Chris Barrett. I was getting a little concerned. He wasn't early, but Chris Barrett is in the chat. We can go at ease now. Thank goodness. All right, so a few plugs before we get started. Tonight, we're going to be talking about our top 2010 artists. We're each going to pick 5. And by the way, JB should be here at some point tonight. He's just being daddy at home, basically. So unfortunately, he is stuck doing daddy duty. So he should hopefully be here soon. And well, hopefully we may have a DruManchu sighting. You never know with that guy, but we may have a DruManchu sighting. I hear his top. I think I know who his top 10 or top number 1, I should say, favorite artist is going to be. I already got the ticker made for that. But I do want to get in the chat one more time. We still got these people are coming in like crazy now. We got Who Dat Comics and Movies. What is going on, man? We got Stream Elements Bot. How's it going, Bot? Like to see you in that chat. It's always fun to make fun of the bot. We got Highly Comic Bro in the chat. He guest starred on the No Faces chat today. Another one of my favorite live shows in the community. And yeah, everybody's just having a great time in that chat. But we also, I got to plug before we get started, we're having a Comic Horror game show in 2020. Somewhere, hopefully, by the time the end of January, early February rolls out, we'll have that game show ready to go. We're going to do it in pairs of 2. So find a buddy in the community, hit up anyone in the Comic Horror, and let us know you are ready to be a part of the game show. There's going to be prizes for all, so there will be no losers. I don't even know if there is a grand prize. Chad, I think, has something in mind, but I don't know what that is. It hasn't been announced officially, so I can't say what that is because I literally don't know. But I would assume there's going to be a grand prize for the winning team. But nonetheless, we're going to do it teams of 2, Family Feud style. So leave that notification bell on and all those gimmicks, subscribe, and get the scoop on that game show stuff. But before we get into our top list, the randomizer winner last week was Planetary Volume 1. So we've already dipped our toe into the Warren Ellis waters, if you will, previously with the Moon Knight run he did with Declan Shelby. And we're going back to Warren Ellis with Planetary. So, Andy, I know you got a few things to say about Planetary, so we'll just go right into it. Andy, what are your initial thoughts on Planetary Volume 1?
Let's be clear. This is the first DC read we've done on the show, isn't it?
Technically, yes, it is, yeah.
I think technically it is. And I chose to read it on Comixology. And this is right in line with Ellis's work. And you and I were just talking about that. Mm-hmm. But I think because when we talked about Moon Knight was an established character.
Yes.
Some previously established storylines and whatnot. So jumping in with Ellis's work was kind of seamless. It kind of fit really well. But for me, the first 2 issues of this, I did struggle a little bit, wondering where the story arc was. But by the 3rd and 4th issue, you kind of figured out what was happening, what they were trying to do. I'm hoping that if I go to read the next book, that there's going to be a lot more developing going on in like past storylines or maybe some flashbacks, because there's not a lot of past character building, and there's not a lot of the character building is kind of just enough to get you through the issue at first. And I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more for this.
Absolutely. Yeah, my initial thoughts, it works. You can definitely see Ellis's style in this compared to what we did in Moon Knight, where you have issue 1 which we were talking about this a little bit before the show. Issue 1's like your world building issue, basically, where you get to know the names of the characters. You get to know just enough about the characters to start to get invested into them. And you kind of see the overall organization that is Planetary and what they're kind of going to be about or up against, basically. And then issues 2 through 6, just like in Moon Knight, they're one-off stories, basically. So they kind of go after the weird or the odd in the world, and it's kind of like an X-Files type mix where they kind of, they're investigating cover-ups, and they're just trying to keep things, tidy and away from the public if need be. But I really dug this overall. I really like the characters of Elijah Snow, and I think her name was Jaquita Wagner, was the female protagonist in this book. But I like those two characters quite a bit. I haven't seen anything from Drummer I've liked yet. I wasn't a big Drummer fan. He was kind of like their tech and information guy, but he was always playing the drums or drumsticks. He wasn't playing a set of drums. He was just playing with drumsticks. And it was just like, okay, I get it. The guy's kind of smart ass. When are we kind of going to get a little bit more from this character?
Right, like that persona that he has where he has the ability to control all electronic devices within so many feet of him, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
For him to be kind of this like late 80s, early 90s drummer, like out of the movie Airheads, just seemed it kind of fell flat.
Yeah, no, I actually kind of agree with that. I don't need Adam Sandler from Airheads playing this character. But yeah, I can't wait to see, because I'm probably going to continue reading to see if I can find volume 2. But I really am curious because this is my second. I've read this twice now. I've never read past this though. I'm really curious to see if there's the character development of Elijah Snow and Jaquita Wagner. I really like those two characters. I could read that whole series if it's just those two, which I'm good with that. And actually, J Hood Creative, how's it going, man? He put in the chat that says Drummer looks just like John Cassaday, and I totally see that. Because I actually did meet John Cassaday once. I got him to sign some books for me. And yeah, I didn't put that together until J Hood mentioned it in the chat. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, I love the artwork.
Oh, yeah.
I love Ellis's way of crafting a story and leaving you wanting more, but I will say, like I said at the beginning, the first 2 issues, I was like, so I had no prior connection with the characters. I had no prior understanding, no nothing. So it left me wanting way more than I felt was good for the story. I definitely want to read the next one though. Where it continues going, but I like how it's kind of the each issue is kind of one off. And when you mentioned X-Files, I was like, absolutely, that's kind of where I felt like this was going. And they had some really cool. Issue 2 was really cool with the island and with the monsters. I really like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too. That was going to be my next question. Since I mentioned, issues 2 through basically 6 are one-off issues. Was there a particular one-off story that was your favorite of those?
2 was definitely my favorite because it kind of made you think a little bit about the Godzilla movies and a little bit about X-Files and a little bit about some other stuff. And it meshed a number of different things together that made it kind of that was my favorite. Yeah.
I think my answer, I'm just kind of flipping through the book now to determine my final answer, but I think it has to be issue 4, if I remember right. The one where this dude, he's just kind of leaving an office building and then he sees someone, they got robbed of their medication. So he's going after him and he ends up tripping over this mysterious alien device, or we kind of think or interpret that it's alien, and he disappears, and the crew of Planetary is already there, kind of seeing what's going on because this thing vaporized the building, basically.
Yeah.
So then the guy comes back. He has a lightning scar on his chest, and it turns out he's been imbued with superpowers to try to help get this monument back to its actual universe.
Oh, it's not going to work. Yeah. It's not really gonna. There's so much white in this. But yeah, it's buried so far below the building that it takes the building out, and then he tries to run and then trips over it, and then gets transported into it.
Yeah, and I like it because toward the end of the issue is my favorite part, where this guy, he basically needs 6 more people to help him get this monument back to its actual universe. And that's when Elijah Snow finally just calls out Planetary. It's like, you know what? We really do a lot of talking and investigating around here, but we don't actually do anything for anyone. So he's just like, I'm just going to say it now. We're going to give you your funding and all that stuff. I don't care what these guys say. We'll figure it out. We're ran by a millionaire, so we can afford it. So we'll find you 6 people. And then the other thing I like, and I believe this is one where they introduced the concept of the bleed, which is kind of like that space that occupies in between universes and the multiverse.
Yeah.
And if I like reading DC, obviously, it's actually a concept brought up in some DC comics too, specifically the bleed. It's used when I think Captain Atom has a heel turn eventually in the 2010s, and that's where he hides out so he can hide from the rest of the superheroes, is in the same bleed that's introduced in this book. So it's kind of like one of the few times I took a Wildstorm anything and integrated it into DC Universe pre-New 52. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, you said it earlier. I think John Cassaday's art for me was the absolute all-star of this book. We'll go ahead and get in a couple panels a week. I put a couple downloads here for us here. So there is Wagner drop kicking a car, Walker Texas Ranger style, except she doesn't go through the windshield. She goes through the freaking engine block. So really thought that was a cool one. And then in issue 6, you kind of get them looking at this giant, like, huge painting of the universe when they're investigating this Artemis company that, like, it was in 1961. They were covered up by the Apollo program. But basically, they were supposed to be the ones that were, like, hiding out up in space, like, taking out all the Soviet aircraft from them getting to the moon, and then they were going to go to Mars next, and then they disappeared in, like, 64.
Oh, that was a part of the storyline. Yeah, they actually said that the Russians and other people got to the moon and got to space a lot sooner than the Americans, and it was all covered up, and that was a really neat twist to the story as well.
Yeah, so I think issue 6 was probably my second favorite, just because it added the most to the story besides the first issue. So any final thoughts on Planetary Volume 1, Andy?
It leaves me wanting to read the next one. I absolutely loved the artwork, but the story kind of pulls it back a little bit for me, so I'll definitely give this, I'd say an 8.5.
Yeah, I was going to say about the same. I was going to say 8.5, maybe a 9.0. I think they give you just enough of the characters to make you want to read the next one. I'm not fully invested in our main characters. Like I said, especially Drummer. I'm just not into that character. I like the other 2 characters quite a bit, but not enough to, like, say, like, oh, these are some of my favorite characters ever. They don't tie you in and say, like, we read Saga the last 2 weeks. They don't tie you in as well as, say, the characters in that, obviously. Yeah. But, of course, that is a extremely rare example of something that's, really phenomenal compared to, I would say, very fine. Last week was near mint. But I want to keep reading this to see where it goes. Because I think it's only, like, less than 30 issues, basically. So it's not a huge endeavor to go read all of them. So
yeah, and I think I paid $4-ish on Amazon for the Comixology portion. So it's like getting all of those trade paperbacks via Comixology is actually going to be cheaper than paying full price for the trade paperback if I could find it locally. That's the reason why I went to Comixology, is I couldn't find it locally, and then on eBay and other resources with the holiday season happening, it was going to be too late to get it in time to read it.
Awesome. All right, so before we get into our top lists here, we're going to go ahead and hop into this chat here. We got Poor Mike in the chat. How's it going, man? Chris Barrett's asking, did Paul paint that picture? Yeah, I think he was talking about the this picture here. Paul likes to do his paintings with the cups, so they're actually pretty cool, I think. But yeah, I get that for sure. Who else we got? Oh, we got Prince of New Zealand, the Uncanny Kyle Walk in the chat. How you doing, man? Nice to see you in that chat tonight. We got Rob Ward saying Fabok did a lot of great work on Forever Evil. Unfortunately, the stories weren't that fantastic. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. His stuff was great in terms of art, but yeah, I remember that story was okay at best. We still got the Great Legend holding it down with that blue wrench in that chat. He says you remember that kayfabe. We got Jay Hood says that was definitely Ellis's high water area, in my opinion. Let's see. We got Patrick Melagrano. Oh, God, I mispronounced. I had it right last week. I missed it this week. I apologize, Patrick. I was reading it too fast. He says, don't forget about Jason Fabok. So people are loving them some Fabok tonight. We got Sleeper Eater 666 in the chat. How you doing? It's him. It's DNP. Downright Nerdy Podcast is in the chat tonight. How you doing, DNP? Nice to see you in that chat. And
Thanks for hanging out, DMP. They just had their episode, their most recent episode, I think, went and premiered yesterday afternoon.
Nice.
And it's a full spoiler-loaded Star Wars episode and Mandalorian episode, and it is delicious.
Nice.
It is a great episode. If you guys haven't seen that, check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, so if we had time at the end of the show, we may discuss some Mandalorian, some Star Wars. We'll try to keep it somewhat spoiler-free for those who hadn't seen it, but we may, depending on how close the 11 o'clock hour comes, we may have a little bit of discussion on that. We got a couple more people in the chat. We got Ben Compton and Who Flung Poo number 3. Love that name. All right. And then we got Bob World, who's responsible for all those awesome intros. How you doing, Bob? But Rob Worst here has his 2010 list up here on the screen. He says, Art Germ, Adam Hughes, N. Yuck Lee, Zarafino, Warren Lau, Jim Lee, Tradmore, Greg Pulo, Todd McFarlane. What do you think about that list before we get into ours?
That, like I said earlier, man, when we were talking, there's not a bad list from 2010 to 2019. They're all fantastic. It's all about who loves what and who's tied into what. Yeah. There's so many artists. And we actually discussed this a little bit. What is it? I don't know. A little before the beginning of the decade, right around the beginning of the decade, social media exploded. And when social media exploded, websites like DeviantArt exploded and other websites exploded. Artists that didn't have a platform before now had a platform. So we are seeing so much great work out there now available for everybody to see. And comic book creators can actually just pick what they love, what fits their stories and whatnot. And you're seeing so many more. I'm getting goosebumps, man. You can see so many more artists now than you could 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And that much quicker.
Absolutely.
So it's literally like their business card is their work online and social media.
Yeah, it's came a long ways since they had to scrape together, change out of the couch, try to get that artist alley table to get their face front and center. Now they have the power of the internet to kind of get their faces out there. So no, you're absolutely right on that. It's something I never thought of. So that's a great point. We got Chris Barrett putting his list in the chat. He says, J. Scott Campbell, Alex Ross, Russell Dodderman. That's a great one in my opinion. Ryan Otley and Todd McFarlane. So we're seeing a lot of Campbell and McFarlane already. So, all right, we'll get our banners up here, and then we'll go ahead and start with Andy's number 5. We got Tradmore in at number 5. Andy, what's your opinions on Tradmore?
And the only reason why Trad... Hey! JB!
Hold on.
The only reason why I had Tradmore at 5 is I don't feel like he had been around that much of a decade. I couldn't find out when he really transitioned in to the mainstream and started doing a lot of mainstream comic books. I wasn't able to find that today. And the only reason why he was that low was because of that. It's like there was only a handful of titles that I could find him credited for. But he made my top 5 for Silver Surfer Black.
Nice.
And when that first hit, a lot of people weren't quite sure. A lot of people, you're either on one side of the fence or the other. But eventually, here we are. Series completed. Silver Surfer Black's done. The art is accepted and loved. And it fits the story. It really fits the story.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, while JB gets settled in here, I'll go ahead.
Let me settle in here.
5. I got to pick Sean Gordon Murphy at my number 5. He's absolutely exploded onto the scene here in the 2010s. He started with Punk Rock Jesus early on, which that's going to be one of my hardcovers I definitely want to check out and read throughout. Next year, I got a whole list I'm making up for things I want to read in 2020, and I found that hardcover already, so that's definitely one I plan on reading. But for me, he took the world by storm with Batman White Knight. Not only is he a phenomenal artist, is excellently written. I like the what-if tale of, what if the Joker became sane, took the right medication, and outed Batman as kind of like the villain of Gotham instead of the Joker. And I thought that was, and then just the fact that, just the way he draws cars. I was talking to my local shop owner about that. Like, he draws some of the best, nicest cars you will ever see in comic books. The guy has an absolutely amazing art style. So I had to pick Sean Gordon Murphy at my number 5. So before we continue, I got to ask, JB Discovery Bay, how you doing tonight?
Good. That kind of timed out perfect since I didn't actually get to read this week's read anyway. But hey, cheers to everybody. Thanks for joining us.
We're glad to have you, man. You got number 5.
Yes, I got number 5.
I'll let you
got it number 5. You ready?
for it, but I'll let you go ahead.
Fiona Staples.
Nice.
Ooh.
Right? Come on, man. I mean, I'm totally just engulfed in this story right now, and the art is telling a story. So, no, I'm definitely got to get her on my list. Or him. I don't even know if it's him or her. It's got to be a her, right? Her. Got to be a her. With a Fiona, come on. Definitely. Yep. So that's fun number 5 for me. And I actually got a list. Oh!
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about Fiona Staples down the line here, but yeah, I got to agree. She definitely adds a whole element of her own to that book saga, and it's amazing. We'll go into Andy's number 4, though. Santa Takata.
Thank you, because I've been struggling with this name all day. Santa Takata. Okay. And this name wasn't very familiar with me, a few years ago. It was Monstrous. That work in Monstrous really brought his name into her. Her. I think it's him.
You see again, we're not sure. Okay.
No, it's actually, if I remember correctly, it's a her, and she's from Japan. But that artwork was phenomenal, and it made me want to dig for more. And it was stories that I didn't think that I would really be that interested in. The art pulled me in, and Monstrous is one of those books for a lot of people.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of the ones I need to read eventually. I've not read one issue of Monstrous, but I've seen the covers and stuff, and that artwork is pretty nice.
The cover work you see on the cover, it's in the book.
Nice. That's awesome. I always like hearing that. And then I kind of agree with the same thing for this next artist as well, which is my number 4, Jamie McKelvie. This guy, I think he does some really good quality work. He has some beautiful covers, but the stuff you see on his covers is reflected exactly on the inside of the page. He's done Young Avengers, that volume 2. In my opinion, a very underrated run. A lot of people like to focus on the first run of Young Avengers, but I think that second one holds up just as well. Especially when they introduce America Chavez and young Loki into the fold on that team. I think it's a very strong book. And then The Wicked and the Divine with Kieran Gillen. Those guys have made a heck of a team on several runs. But I think The Wicked and Divine, it's not talked about enough in the community, and I think is an excellent read and a very beautiful book. And I believe he's credited in creating the current costume for Captain Marvel.
Ooh.
So I think he's the one who actually came up with that whole concept. So, yeah, I had to pick Jamie McKelvie because I don't think he gets enough love in the YouTube comic book community. What about you, JB? What's your number 4?
All right, number 4, I have Pepe Larraz for the House of X.
Nice.
Good pick.
Right? Come on.
I struggled.
I was so pumped on this list.
Man, I struggled with this list for days because there were so many good artists.
There are dude, I have huge list, but I kind of cheated because I've been interviewing people for days trying to get ideas, and I've been writing down these ideas. Yeah, I'm going with Pepe Larraz. There you go.
Nice. Yeah, I got you. I met him not last year. Actually, I think it was last year, technically, at C2E2 2018. Really nice guy. They had like this big Young Guns signing for the Marvel thing. I got to meet him, Marco Cacchetto, and a couple others at that.
Is that how you say it?
I think it's
butchering his name.
The way CB Cebulski announced it at the signing was Marco Cacchetto, not Cacchetto.
Oh, man, I done butchered that name.
I didn't know that either until he announced it.
You got to say it like the Sopranos, like gabagool.
Yeah, got it.
So, yeah, I guess there's a little bit of knowledge for today. So, yeah, Pepe Larraz, I like his art too. I think he's one of the more consistent hands Marvel has now in terms of interior work. So, I'm so glad someone picked Pepe.
I'm going to put my list in the private chat if you want to do anything with it. If not,
okay. I'll try to crank it out on Andy's number 3, which, yeah, we could talk about this one for a while. Stephanie Hans at Andy's number 3.
No, very solid, very solid.
I struggle with this, and I struggle with this, and I struggle with this because we're talking about a decade or close to a decade here, and I can't pinpoint when Stephanie Hans really started making a major mark in the industry. Because every time I start looking up her stuff and researching, I get lost in the art, and I just start flipping around through the art, and then an hour later, I'm like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be actually researching Stephanie Hans. So when we talk about books and covers, and we talk about cover art, and then when we say the cover art is the interior art as well, this is Stephanie Hans through and through. And that run of Die has been a powerhouse train of art. So much so that everybody's just talking about the art. And even when the story actually waned a hair, people still bought because of the art. And the art carried him through till that issue or two after, and the story locked back up again, and people were right back in it. And I mean, just the covers she produces. I got too much glare.
Don't apologize for it. Don't you dare apologize for that glare.
Just there we go. The covers she comes up with are phenomenal. Absolutely to die for. And it's stuff I have never seen on a book before.
Wow.
It's just outstanding. And like I said, I struggled with where to put her on the list or make her an honorable mention because I couldn't figure out where to place her kind of in the decade. But when I started digging through my collection and finding what she was accredited for, and I was like, oh man, I got a big chunk of my collection that's accredited to her. She's definitely on the top 5, and she landed at 3 for me.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, when especially like in Die, like I was just like, how good is her interior art really going to be? Because I mainly know her from the covers as well, but she is the star of this book in my opinion. Her art inside and out is phenomenal. I especially like that first issue where when they're in the real world, it's a little bit more gritty. The art just doesn't pop off the page as much. It looks a little bit more realistic, I guess you could say. But when they're in the fantasy realm, ran by Die, the art just pops so much more off the page because it's meant to. So I really like her conflict of styles, especially in that first issue.
I almost didn't buy into Die when that second issue, I think it was maybe it was cover B. I don't know if it was cover A or cover B out, but the guy had a vape. He had a vape thing in his hand. I was like, oh my god, this vaping's terrible. I didn't want anything to do with this. This dude's vaping. I still bought into it though. Glad I did.
Nice. All right, here's my number 3, and I know Legend. He already mentioned it. Jay's gonna love this one. Amanda Connor. I had to put Amanda Connor on my list. I had a chance to meet her. I think it was last September in Cincinnati. And she is one of the most nicest people you will ever meet at a comic convention. If you're meeting your favorite creators, they know how to treat their fans. Between Amanda Connor and her husband Jimmy Palmiotti, they're both excellent. But nonetheless, her art and her books, she's mainly drifting a lot more toward covers, especially with her Harley Quinn work. But she's also writing the book, of course. But she's actually getting ready to go back into the books with the Black Label Harley Quinn. So she's going to do, I know, some great work on that. And she did some excellent stuff on Before Watchmen, did some great stuff with Power Girl, JSA. I think her work holds up very well. And her style is one of my favorite styles for DC characters.
Gate Crasher's also listed in.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Listed in.
What a decade. The last 2 names I didn't even have on this list, guys.
Dude,
and
yeah.
So many people.
Oh yeah. No, there's
got some incredible names on here. It was so hard to pare down to 5, and I mean, I didn't even have the last 2 on there.
No, I think your number 3 is very strong though, JB. We'll go ahead and get into that. Ryan Stegman.
There we go.
Great one too.
Yep. I had him on my list. I had one giant piece of paper, and I had probably 30 or 35 names on it. And I was just trying to dwindle it down to, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Is that everybody's so amazing.
I got 25 on my list. It's crazy.
But yeah, JB, you want to talk about
Ryan Stegman for Venom? I mean, come on, what a hell of a run. Plus, it helps that you got good writing, and it was good stuff.
Yeah, so. my favorite Stegman stuff. I mean, he did the Fantastic Four run with Jonathan Hickman when that came back. When they brought back Human Torch, they let him get an opportunity on that book, and he knocked out of the park. Of course, my favorite Stegman I think has to be Superior Spider-Man, though, where they had the Doc Ock Spider-Man, and he did, not only were the covers great, the interior art was almost even better than the covers on that run for me. So I think
that was a great
besides Ryan Otley, he might be tied for the best artist they have on the Marvel lineup right now, in my opinion.
Wow. That's high praise. Good stuff. Yeah. Solid choice, JB. There you go.
So we're going to do our number 2 picks, and then I'm going to go into the chat. The chat's got their picks, but we'll go over our number 2s first. Then we'll go over our honorable mentions, then we'll get the number 1s, and then I think we're going to have a segment for cover artists specifically. But nonetheless, we'll go into Andy's number 2.
Here we go.
Ooh. Black Hammer, baby. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I didn't even have him on there.
I know. We were just talking
What the hell?
We were just talking about Black Hammer. So that whole universe, when you think about it, what was it? Three different series and like a handful of crossovers and a whole universe built up in less than 10 years. And Dean Ormstrom's been the main guy there for pretty much all of it, right?
So all of these has been him? Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. Like, and the art fits the story fits the art. It's all kind of hand in hand, and it's just he hit my number 2. He earned that number 2, and I was struggling with 2 and 3 a little bit there, but he definitely hits number 2 for me.
Nice.
Immortal. No whammies.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of great picks come out.
All right.
Get there, but we'll go over our number 2s first. This one was tough for me. 1 and 2, it was based like almost a coin flip. But number 2, I kind of want to put him at number 1, but number 2, I went with Jock.
Jock. He's on my list. All right. So
one of my top favorite artists, an absolute gentleman if you meet him in person. Some of the most iconic work in the 2010s was done by Jock from that, iconic Detective Comics 880 cover that, Chad R in the chat loves so much. And that's a whole story into itself, but you get that, his work on Witches, the whole Batman Black Mirror stuff, the backups he even did for the Scott Snyder Batman run. It's all phenomenal work. Everything this guy does, in my opinion, is quality. And I mean, I can't get enough of this guy's work. If he did solely covers, I'd probably have to start collecting his covers. Jock is definitely one of my top artists, easily, of 2010s. You guys read any Jock in the 2010s?
I had him on the list, but man, what a hell of a list! I mean, come on, this decade has been packed.
It's banging.
It's just banging, definitely.
It's banging.
Definitely right there. You probably would have been one of my first honorable mentions. Probably 6 for me.
All right, so we'll get into JB's number 2. I'll let you talk about him first. Greg Capullo.
Thank you.
Right? Come on. Snyder, Capullo, Batman. Let's talk about it, man. I mean, it was still right there, number 2. Wait, and you know what? There's only one person ahead of him, and I'm confident with my pick. So
yeah. And I'll just spoil my number 1 right now because he was my number 1.
There you go.
So Greg Capullo, I mean, you get to see his complete resurgence in the 2010s, starting with obviously the Batman Scott Snyder run. He's mainly known for Spawn, and he did do some work on the book Haunt with Todd McFarlane and Robert Kirkman, but it was really that Batman run that made him a huge superstar, basically the artist of the 2010s, in my opinion. He brought that 90s style, and he really adapted it really well to the DC 2010 style that he almost set the bar a little bit too high, in my opinion.
That's a great way of putting it, taking that 90s.
Yeah, because sometimes when I read this stuff, I
involving it. Yeah.
It still feels modern. It's weird. I don't know how else to describe that, but I just, especially that first run of the Court of Owls, he knocks it out of the park. Legends kill me in the chat. I'll get a whole list of honorable mentions.
Oh man.
Anyway, there was my number 1. So before we go to Andy and JB's number 1, we got to get into some chat picks here.
All right.
So let's see. The Immortal Biggie Shack says Mattina was money also. So Francesco Mattina, I was definitely going to mention him.
I have a whole list. I thought we maybe would hit cover artists.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
They're just cover.
Yeah. I think should we do that before your number 1s? Maybe we should do that before the number 1s.
You want to go over what your top, you want to go 3 cover artists or 4? You want to go a top 5 cover artists?
3.
You want to do 3? You want to do 3?
Yeah, so each of you pick your 3 real quick. I'll keep going over the chat.
I got my 3.
I didn't pick Gary Frank. Gary Frank was this close. I came with consistency and time is the only reason I didn't put Gary Frank on my list. He knocked it out of the park with the Shazam backups and the Justice League book. Those were awesome. And he did the Batman Earth one with Jeff Johns. That was really cool. It just took an eternity to get that work done. I'm sorry, man. Rob Guillory, he was probably like number 6 on my list, though, between Chew and between Farmhand. Oh, man. Rob Guillory, not only is he proving himself an awesome artist, he's doing a good job writing Farmhand as well.
Do I put him in the chat, or we're just going to say him?
We can say him here in a second. There's just a lot of picks I want to
cover.
There's
a lot of picks.
Chris Barrett says he only knows Jock from the 880 cover, but Immortal Biggie Shack says he likes him some Jock. Chad says, where's Carson? Hi, Chad. Right here, Chad. Rob Worth says Stegman's pencil should be released for each book he does. I think that's one of the best pencilers today. I couldn't agree more with that Rob Worth statement there. We got AKA Mr. Bolo.
Mr. Bolo in the house.
Bolo. Stegman will be 10 for the next 10 years, in my opinion, like Frizen and Hans. We haven't mentioned Jenny Frizen yet.
She's my list right here. She's on my cover. She's on my cover. Come on. Don't be blowing my list.
Comic Books NYC, what's going on, Cobby? He says Ryan Otley rules. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That if I was making a top 10, Otley for sure would have been on that top 10 as well. I'm still. And then Stegman plus 90 KT equals better than Watchmen 2020, says Rob Worst. Who Flung Poo says Connor's Power Girl is great.
Who Flung Poo?
Bill Murray's picture too.
I love
it. Anyone related to working with Neil Gaiman? And here's that list I was looking for. Mr. Bowles, James Scott Campbell, Jim Lee, Art Germ, Delato, Addie Granoff, Hughes, Ross, Bettina, Finch. We haven't even mentioned David Finch's name tonight. Here's another name we haven't mentioned tonight. Mark Brooks.
That's
Mark Brooks.
A lot of great names on these lists here. And then Russell Dotterman has been coming up a lot in the chat, too, for sure.
Okay.
A lot of people liking him from Russell Dotterman. Rob Worth says, I miss Chew, too. Can we have a sequel book of Tony's daughter running around with the FDA? That sounds like a phenomenal spinoff idea to me, Rob Worth. All right. So you guys want to do your cover artists real quick?
Yeah,
Andy,
you want to just... You want to go ahead? Yeah.
Yeah,
are we going 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3? What are we doing?
Let's do each of I'll do my 3 really quick.
Yeah, just do real quick.
You know, Stephanie Hans, cover artist. I wish Bear Island was here for Jenny Friesen. That's my next one. And then Shannon Mayer. Mayer.
Interesting. Okay.
I've followed a lot of Red Sonja stuff. This is by far the most stunning Red Sonja cover I have ever seen done, ever, in my opinion. So he's doing outstanding work as well. So I've got Jenny Friesen, Shannon Mayer, and Stephanie Hans, cover artists.
Yeah, right. I think if we're doing the show in 2020, or it'll be like old men with white beards doing the best of 2020. We may be talking about Shannon Mayer by then.
Really? Okay. I did not have her up there.
Art from this guy on terms of covers.
All right.
It's a him.
It's a him.
It's definitely a him.
Okay. All right. All right, JB, what you got over there?
I've got for cover artists at number 3, I had Jenny Friesen. Nice. At number 2, I have Art Germ.
Okay. Yeah.
And my favorite cover artist, it seems, when I'm looking at some of my stuff recently, some of the stuff that I always end up putting aside I'm going to keep, is Perillo.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would say you better pick Perillo.
Yeah. No,
you got that
better pick Perillo. Oh, no, definitely. Those are my top 3. I got Perillo, Art Germ, and Friesen.
Nice. Then John's Comics with Kids is saying, did anyone even mention the Dotsons?
I don't think we did.
Not even on the list.
More than 2000, but 2010s they did some good work too. Terry and Rachel Dotson, they're great. All right, so real quick, my top, I guess just to pick 3, I'm kind of trying to pick 3 you guys didn't talk about. I'd probably say, I got to say Josh Middleton. He's done some phenomenal work, especially on that Batgirl stuff, and even his Aquaman stuff with those Mira covers. And he can mix up his art style so well that you won't even think. You can put 2 Middleton covers together, and they'll both look great, but you could convince someone they're not even from the same artist. So he's one of those few artists who can really mix up his style, in my opinion, and still have good quality art. I would say number 2, Clayton Crane. He's transitioned more of just covers.
One.
I love his interior art, especially we talked about that last week with Uncanny X-Force and stuff, or just regular X-Force, I guess. But yeah, he's been killing it on covers the last several years. I think he's got like an exclusive deal. I don't know if it's with Scorpion Comics or what have you, but he's got some great covers out there. And then number one, it's just one of those guys, every time I see his work, I got to buy it because I'm a 90s guy at heart, J. Scott Campbell. Every time there's that Campbell cover that hits the stands, I can't not buy me, especially if it's cover price.
Yeah, I got a bunch of his stuff on the wall, and I didn't even have him.
I've been picking up his first work as often as I can find it. That Gen 13 one is his first work.
Now we did divert for anyone just popping in here thinking that's our number one. No, this is cover artist.
Yeah.
We were just given we got to number one on the list. And before we gave the number ones, we did a quick cover artist. Now we still have to reveal our true number ones, right?
Yeah. Before we do that, as long as possible at this point.
Sorry. Has Drew shown up yet?
Not yet. We can talk about. I got Drew's number one. I got straight off the presses right here. We got Drew's number one. So, Legend, I know you're waiting anxiously in the chat for someone to pick your number one. DruManchu, he just messaged me. He's picking Gary Frank.
There we go.
Wiggles, McScribbles, whatever.
DruManchu coming through.
With me picking that for number one for him. He'll watch us on the rewind and give a big thumbs up for that. But DruManchu, I know he loves him some Gary Frank.
I know what his number two is.
So, Andy, our number one's got a match. Is that what happened?
We'll get there in a second, but Drew's number two is definitely Scotty Young because he buys every Scotty Young cover in the world.
Oh, man.
He buys every Scotty Young cover. So his number two is definitely Scotty Young.
All right, so here's my honorable mention since Legend keeps busting my balls about not picking this or that artist. I'll throw some honorable mentions out there. So I'm just going from the bottom of my list up. Jen Bartel, great artist, some phenomenal interior artwork from her last couple of years as well. Mike Allred. I don't even think anyone's mentioned the Allreds tonight, Mike and Laura Allred, but they had a one of my favorite Silver Surfer runs ever. I know it was a bit different than a lot of people like, but I absolutely love that run. Plus his work on FF, among other things, of course. But those are the ones that stick out for me for the Allreds. David Aja, who he was the artist on Hawkeye and the Immortal Iron Fist. He's a very awesome, gritty art style that's absolutely amazing if you guys hadn't seen him. We already mentioned Ryan Stegman. Ryan Otley, of course, like I said, the two Ryans of Marvel. He had started off on Invincible this decade, obviously, and he's worked his way on the Amazing Spider-Man. I hope he continues to do good work with Marvel because I think he's one of their best guys right now they have. Chris Samney, he didn't make my list. He almost did. Phenomenal Daredevil run from Chris Samney. I think that guy's amazing. I think he won the Eisner for his art in Daredevil, actually. Rob Guillory. So there you go, Legend. I mentioned Rob Guillory. He was close to making my list. Once again, Farmhand Chew. Love me some Guillory. Jason Fabok, I think, is another name as it came up tonight.
Wow.
Three of us. So Jason Fabok is top 10 for me, especially in terms of DC artists. He's one of the best artists on the DC side. He's just waiting for that Three Jokers to be published, but he is one of their best artists over there. And then, like I said, Gary Frank, he was very close to making my list. So did you guys have any other honorable mentions, or we just want to get into your top pick?
In my honorable mention, I had David Finch, George Harana, Middle West.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very
right?
nice.
Right? I mean, that's telling story. And Nick Klein. He did a lot of good stuff, right? Spider-Man, Deadpool, Thor. That's what I had him for anyway.
And Phil Noto was also mentioned in the chat. I forgot Phil Noto.
I think Scott Young did some of those Middle West covers too.
Yeah.
And then as far as cover artist, my honorable mention I still have was Miko Soyan, Tyler Kirkham.
Those are both really good.
Yeah, those are my honorable mention for cover artist. Let's get to number one. We've held it off long enough. Come on.
Boy.
We'll go with Andy's number one.
Oh boy.
Fiona Staples.
Knees weak. Palms are sweaty. Mom's spaghetti. So Fiona Staples. Seriously, guys. Seriously. When you start researching the decade as a whole, and you start researching artists, you start researching comic books, and you fall down 30 other rabbit holes, you start digging. What shows up at every rabbit hole when you dig?
Saga.
Saga shows up. every time when you dig into everything, whether it's artists, writers, anything for the last decade, and Saga is being listed right now from a lot of people as the best comic book of the decade.
Wow.
It's already going on online. People are listing it as the best comic book of the decade. So my number one had to be Fiona Staples for that. I struggled with this for days because I'm like, man, does she really fit in through the whole decade? And then I got to the point where the more research that I did, and I was like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. All of the stuff that I'm finding online is just Saga, Fiona Staples, BKV, just right there. And I'm like, done. That's my number one. I know it's a lot more different than your guys' stuff, but that's where I had to go with it.
No, I agree 100%. Doing a little bit of research, I just randomly searched like best artists 2010s, just see what other people thought, and just to make sure there's a name or two I wasn't completely forgetting about. And you're right, one constant in these best of the decade lists was always Saga. Every single person was either picking like best series Saga, best art Fiona Staples on Saga, so on and so forth. It was the one constant, whether it be someone picking the best mainstream comics, best independent books, best whatever. If it was all underground stuff, somehow Saga would still get on there. But it was like, I think I clicked 5 different articles, and the only thing that was in common between those 5 different articles was Fiona Staples and Saga.
Wow.
So, hey, you're absolutely right, Andy.
Wow.
I don't think there's a wrong to this. I don't think you could be wrong for any of these, actually.
Nope.
That's the tough part.
I agree, but there's been one name that I have purposely not mentioned tonight because it's JB's number one, and I know one person in the chat's been waiting for this name to come up. So we'll get into JB's number one. Alex.
Oh.
Boom. Fight me. Come on, man. Alex Ross.
I'll fight you for the beer.
How can you go wrong? I mean, just the body of work. The body of work. We're talking about a decade of work. And I mean, I can't find anything Alex Ross that I just haven't liked, and it's so distinct that you look at it and you go, "Oh man, that's Alex Ross."
Yeah,
and you look closer and you're like, "Sure shit, that's Alex." You could look at it, you could see it. It's art. He's my number one for the decade.
No, I mean you're not wrong there, because we live in a world now where a lot of stuff is done, that's painted digitally and what have you on iPads and such. So sometimes you're looking at a cover, trying to figure out which artist did such cover or what artist did interior art, what have you. When you see an Alex Ross piece of art, it's an Alex Ross piece of art without a doubt, every single time.
Yep. So that's my choice.
Yeah, no, that's all great picks. So,
man,
all right. So, in closing thoughts
great
on the
picks,
2010s.
That was
sweet.
That was brutal.
It was, and I can't believe I had 25 on the list and I was missing so many.
I burned through almost half a pad of legal paper trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Wow. Yeah, well, I'm confident with I like my list though. I mean, man, solid list.
Nice. So we'll get into the chat one more time, and then we're going to get into this randomizer that I stacked the deck on it this week. I'll be honest.
He stacked it. There's DC in there. There's some DC in there.
But anyway, we'll get to the chat first. Legends talking about American Vampire. We didn't even bring up Raphael Albuquerque. He's another one you could have talked about tonight. So
that
great run.
100 Bullets?
100 Bullets. That was late 90s, early 2000s. Eduardo Rizzo, though. There's another one you could have talked about.
Yeah.
Rizzo, Dave Johnson, another one for cover artists you could have talked about. So
Eduardo Rizzo. I was just reading that one.
Yeah, 100 Bullets. That's a great run there as well. They're talking about George Perez in the chat. Joel Jones. There's another name we didn't bring up tonight. Says Helheim was great.
Yep.
Said you love George Perez. We got poor Mike still in the chat.
So you're telling me that in 10 years from now, we'll be looking back and saying Shannon Mayer, this
for
dude
cover
artist.
Yeah.
He's going to be right up there. All right.
We'll see.
We'll see.
If he can keep up the quality of work he's put on the first few covers he's really been known for, that's some good stuff. I think it's time for Marvel gets them and puts them on their covers. Paul Pope and Jeff Darrow, 2 more names that you could put on the list. Paul Pope, Batman Year 100. That's one I still need to read. But nonetheless, here, let me see if I can. Every week, I always have to fun doing the screen share stuff here. So let me go to share screen.
I actually like this view better. I don't feel like I got stadium lights on me.
Gotcha. All right. So I have compiled, I got tired. I couldn't sleep one night. So I've compiled a list of must-read DC comics. So
they're all DC. We're not taking any suggestions from the chat.
If they want to add a DC suggestion, I'm
any DC titles suggested, not on the list.
It's Wildstorm. It's technically DC, but it's in my opinion, it's not real DC. So I made a list of DC comics.
All right, here we go. We're gonna
go over one by one, and chat. Feel free to add a DC read on this, and if we like it, we'll go ahead and add it. But I think there's plenty on here that people will like.
A lot.
Superman, Sandman 1 through 10, Neil Gaiman.
Oh yes, please.
Animal Man 1 through 10, Morrison. Animal Man 1 through 10, Jeff Lemire. Saga of Swamp Thing 21 through 30, Alan Moore.
That'd be sweet.
Swamp Thing by Scott Snyder.
Yep.
Infinite Crisis, Kingdom Come, Death of Superman. Those have kind of been on every list we've done, so I just added them back in. Superman for All Seasons, that's one I have not read and really want to. Batman Dark Knight Returns.
Ooh.
Batman Year One. Batman Long Halloween.
Ooh.
Batman Hush. Batman Black Mirror. Batman Court of Owls. Batman and Robin by Grant Morrison. Batman Earth One. We just talked about Gary Frank. He did that book.
Batman.
Batwoman Elegy and Batgirl of Burnside. So hopefully I didn't miss too much there.
Man.
Green Lantern Rebirth. I could have filled this list with Green Lantern, but I figured if we're going to start Green Lantern, we just do the beginning of that whole run. So I picked Green Lantern Rebirth.
Is that the Jeff Johns run?
Yes.
Okay.
Teen Titans 1 through 6 Johns run. While I was talking about Jeff Johns, I threw that in there. Here's one I would like to read. Teen Titans Juice Contract from the mid-'80s. Don't technically know if it's modern, but I threw it on there anyway because, hey, it's probably about the same time period as Kraven's Last Hunt, and everyone loved that.
Yeah.
Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. Superman, Batman, Return of Supergirl. So it's the Ed McGuinness run and then the Michael Turner run from the Jeff Loeb Superman, Batman series. Because I needed some Wonder Woman, I put Wonder Woman 1 through 10 from the Brian Azzarello run.
All right.
The Watchmen. Because why not?
Yeah.
JLA 1 through 10 from Grant Morrison, and also the follow-up in that same run, JLA Tower of Babel. Justice League of America 1 through 6, Brad Meltzer run. Gotham Central Volume 1, a very underrated read in my opinion. Super Sons 1 through 10, because I figured Drew would be here and arguing that Super Sons needs to be on here. By the way, Dustin Nguyen wouldn't even bring up Dustin Nguyen tonight, another great artist from the era. Aquaman 1 through 10 from the 2011 Johns run. And lastly, Mr. Miracle by Tom King.
All right.
Did I miss anything?
Oh, boy.
Man, we got a busy year ahead of us. 2020 is looking good, huh?
Yeah, so this is all DC randomizer, and I didn't see too many extra subscribers, or I'm sorry, extra things in the chat go up for the list. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit randomize one time. We'll see what happens. Justice League of America by Brad Meltzer. All right, so that's what we'll be reading. It's probably like the most low-key thing on this whole list that not lots of people are ever really talk about.
All right,
we will be reading Justice League of America by
what
Brad
year
Meltzer.
is this?
Probably about, was it either 2006, 2008, circa around that point.
Okay.
So you're talking around the Infinite Crisis point. Actually, it had to be, it's probably 2008 because there's a character who comes back, it disappeared in that crisis. So it probably 2008. Solid run. You're going to get some great art on it. We'll see what I think. I'm reading it back because it's probably been about almost 10 years.
Is this available on the DC app?
Yes, it should be.
Okay.
If not, we'll figure something out.
Right.
But I believe it should be. But yeah, we'll be reading some Brad Meltzer on this channel. So I can't wait.
Meltzer.
Oh yeah. He's the guy who did Identity Crisis, if you don't know. It was kind of like the job he got after that. And he's wrote a ton of novels. But anyway, that concludes Modern Men for tonight. So we'll go ahead and go through the panel here. So Comic Man Andy, where can people find you in 2020?
Ooh, 2020. We're looking to bloister our Pinkies Out podcast and try to do a couple episodes a month there. Now that the holidays are coming to a close, I'm looking to spend some more time on my own channel, ComicManAndy YouTube channel. And I'd really like to do a contest coming up here soon when for some sort of a milestone contest, find something really cool for the community to give away. And you guys can find me here every Monday night, here to hang out, and occasionally on some of the other Comic Core evenings, hanging out with friends and family.
Awesome. And then I put the Pinkies Out podcast in the link below each and every week, so definitely check that out.
It's definitely adult content.
And I know here's a guy who had a great 2019, JB Discovery Bay. He's really reinvented himself over the last several months with Disco After Dark and that pop-up shop. Man, you got a lot of success going over there. Where can people find you in case I don't know what I'm talking about, JB?
Well, I got a channel, DiscoveryBay Comics, and I go live a lot. And 2020's got a hell of a schedule ahead of it. Not only do I plan on going live like 3 times a day.
Ooh.
Once at 9 in the morning for a little 9 in the morning my time anyway, for a little 30-minute segment of what's on today, where I'm going to give you guys the lineup of what's coming on in the comic book community. But then in the afternoon, I've got a pretty nice time slot at that 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, where Monday through Friday I'm either doing a pop-up shop or I'm doing a decision show, where I'm sorting books with the community and figuring out what we think they're worth. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do my pop-up shop. Now, once a month, we do the community pop-up shop marathon, which we just finished last Saturday, which was outrageous. Went 7 hours and had lots of sellers in there, and it was a great success. And the big thing, the hot news, the hottest thing happening in 2020 is JB is going to be hosting a game show right here.
That's right.
Saturday nights, right here, Saturday nights. We're looking to get some teams together. You need 2 people to make a team. 3 would be better so that we have an alternate. And it's a little bit of what do we call Family Feud and Jeopardy all rolled into one, with the focus being on comic books, but not just covers and keys. But we're talking about artists and decades and storylines, and it's going to be a little bit more challenging than just naming that key. Not that I don't like that show too. I mean, I love Name That Key, don't get me wrong, but this is going to be a mix. It's going to be team up. We're going to do some bracketology science to it and see if we can crown a champion for the season. What are we calling it? I don't know. We haven't decided yet. Maybe we'll let the fans decide in the future, but just know that in 2020, we're going to be having some good times here Saturday nights on the Comic Core Live. They're already live 5 nights a week. You might as well make it 6, right? Shit.
Sundays, we're coming for you next.
That's right. Sunday's the only day that they don't have any content live, but hey.
You got a time slot that you're thinking about, JB?
Probably we're going to standard time slot that 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
Man, I can't wait for that.
We're going to try and keep to an hour, trying to keep a nice, clean, concise. We'll see what happens. It may go off the rails, but we're going to try to keep it on track.
Well.
All right.
I think the last announcement I have for the night is I believe tomorrow there may be a New Year's Eve party right here on the Comic Core. So if you guys want to hop into that, just email one of us here at the Comic Core. We can get you in on that New Year's Eve party because I have to work till 10. I'm not going anywhere after that. So I'm surrounded by comics. That's my life now. But nonetheless, we're going to be here at the Comic Core, counting it down, waiting for that ball to drop or whatever, something to drop. And we'll be there. So if you guys find yourself with something in front of you, you can watch the Comic Core on. Feel free to join us tomorrow night on the Comic Core as we count down the end of 2020. So with all that being said, JB, you want to sign us out?
Okay. Hey, everybody, don't forget, we had a good time.
See you guys next decade.